All right, so since the last video, we pulled the cab off this thing. It's now sitting in the corner over there. I have moved this over here. I've taken a lot of measurements and where it should sit, the idea of everything. And all in all, after everything's done, this Jeep should be about 7 foot tall with 44-inch tires, a 4-inch lift on it. It should be sitting pretty high. We might end up changing the height on it because the customer said he wants it real squatty. We'll see what he thinks after we put the 4-inch springs on it, but here's where we're at now. So the current plan is I've got to remove this rear axle, whole assembly, everything, the 4-link, everything on it. Drive shaft, I'm gonna remove all of that out of the way. I'm gonna remove the fuel tank out of the way because I'm gonna be doing a lot of cutting. I don't want to blow myself up. And then also in the front, remove the front axle, the steering. Once that's all done, there's a lot of cutting that I've got to do. So I got to cut out all the brackets for like the 4-link and the shock towers and everything like that. Bump stop, get those out of the way. We're going to extend the wheelbase of this Jeep, so we're gonna bring it forward. The front wheel forward 3 inches and the rear wheel backwards 3 inches. So the current plan is to take this shock tower here and then separate it from here and then notch this back 3 inches and scoot this back into here and then box the whole setup. That way we can move this whole axle back 3 inches, because one of the big problems that you run into with the Sterling, which is what we're running in the back, is the Sterling 10.5-inch ring gear, is the fuel tank. So the actual Sterling would sit, the pinion would be like right here, so you hit your fuel tank. He wants to run the stock fuel tank on it for now till we go to the LS, so we're gonna go move back about 3 inches. That should give us enough room. If it doesn't, then we'll clearance it if need be. And then in the front, the plan is to, and all I'm gonna do is take the shock tower and the spring tower and move it forward 3 inches. So same 3 forwards and backwards. Because of the PSC system we're using, I don't have to worry about any steering geometry, any steering linkage, anything, because it's full hydraulic from the steering box up here to the ram that mounts onto the... Right now I already did a little bit of teardown. I removed all the wiring, chassis wiring and everything, so there's no chassis wiring on it. I've got that in a box. Started removing the gas tank, and so drop the gas tank, drop the rear suspension, jack up the front, drop the front suspension, and start cutting. So, got the rear axle removed. I'm not quite sure why in my head I thought that was gonna stay down. Very obviously, yeah, the frame is tilted way towards the front. I don't know why I thought that was gonna not do that. Figure out something. I might have to use ratchet straps to hold it down to the jack stand. That probably won't work either, because then it's just gonna lift the jack stand off the ground. Why did I not think of that? I'm gonna find something to bring this back to the ground. I might have to move my jack stand here forward. Worst comes to worst, I'll have to remove the engine. It shouldn't be hard to do. So, got that removed. Fuel tank next, then going to the front. I stuck a jack in a very sketchy way underneath the front of here. This is not something you should do ever, but I'll be okay. I stuck the head of a jack stand on the top of my jack, loosely, and I jacked up the front of that to kind of level it out. There's still a gap in between there, but that'll be all right, hopefully. So that was about the sketchiest way that you can pull one of those. I'm not doing very good with the math right now. I put the jack on the front part of the gas tank so that when it fell, or when it dropped down, it slid right off the back. But it landed on my creeper, so it didn't, you know, dump or anything. Yeah, that didn't go quite as planned with the engine, and as soon as I went to go pull that jack, or as soon as I went to pull it out the front, I put 2 and 2 together that, hey, if you jack up the front and you keep it there with the jack, you can't pull an axle out of the front with the jack in the way. So then I let it down, and, you know, I'm gonna go grab some more of these. These are Daytona 6-ton jack stands. These things are fantastic. What I really like about those is how tall they get. The axles, when I was cutting them down and cleaning them off, they got tall enough where I could sit on a shop stool and not have to be bent over trying to grind down welds and stuff like that. So those are fantastic jack stands. They're not bad for the price at all. It's been a little while. It's been a couple months since I worked on it last, since I pulled everything, because I've had a ton of other projects that took priority over this, but we're getting back on it now. For the rear, what the plan is we're going to take this shock tower. We're going to try and reuse these existing shock towers, and then we're going to cut back into this channel 3 inches so I can move this 3 inches. So move it back. It's going to sit about right there, and then up front what we're going to do is we're going to cut the whole assembly out and just move it forward 3 inches. Over here, it's not a huge ordeal. It's just some welds around the perimeter of it. But on this other side, it's a little bit different because we've got these are bolts for our power steering, or our steering gear. So what I've got to do is kind of work around that and figure out how I can move it forward and not mess with any of that. So cut the brackets out. All I'm using is an angle grinder with the cutoff wheel, and then cutting the welds just right here. And then after I cut them out, I'll flap disc them, probably grind them down, flap disc them to get them clean. All right, I got both sides, these sides cut out. I haven't trimmed it yet, or cleaned it up yet, but I'm going to. Got the exhaust out, so you I loosened the bolts out, and you know, it's got 100,000 miles on it. Shook it a bunch, wiggled it, smacked it, and it eventually came out. So now what I'm gonna do is all around it, it's got the weld here, and then down here as well. But luckily, they did not weld up inside of here, so I don't have to worry about this. And then I went ahead and got Sawzall thick metal blades. I'm just gonna cut it right here. And then cut straight back to here to just move this back 3 inches. So it'll be 3 inches back, cut across, and then just make sure this chunk is missing, but make sure they still have structural integrity here. And then clean it up and weld this ledge back, and then we'll box this in so that I have nice, good structure right here. All right, after fighting what felt like forever, finally got the spring bucket out. So there was this little tab in the back, which I'll re-weld. I'm not really worried about it. What I'm gonna do now is get all this off, and then we're gonna set this in place, see how it looks, see what needs to be adjusted, see what needs to be trimmed, make sure it is level, and then just tack it in place for now. I changed my mind on what I was gonna do for the shock mounts. I was gonna relocate the shocks, but the truss that I'm using actually puts the shocks right here. So what I'm actually gonna do is just reutilize this mount so I don't have to cut it out and re-weld another mount onto it. Also, this helps triangulate this because it took away a bunch of that support. All right, so this is the other side. I got the other side trimmed out. I got that bracket cut off and everything. So you can see we're 1.9 degrees raked up right here. That thing, the arrow tells me that it needs to go down 1.9 degrees to be level. So numbers are way off because of the magnet. Picking up a bunch of metal. We're actually straight even. The way that I'm actually kind of surprised about that, the way I've got this set up is I've got these right here are like the wheel dollies to move vehicles around, and then I've just got 6'10" jack stands, front and rear, just on the frontmost and rearmost setup, and somehow I got that level with the spring perch. So what we're gonna do on this side is do the same thing. It's just about even, and then do the same thing in this direction. So measure it that direction, and then give her a tack. You see, stuck some tacks in there. Not perfect. It's reading 0.2 this direction and 0.3 that direction. So I got it really close. Not exact, but it is good enough. The spring will take out most of that deflection. All right, I got all this burned in. Go ahead and do the other side. I'm gonna do it the exact same way. I won't show you twice. All right, it's the next day. I finished up this side. I finished up this side. I still haven't boxed anything or cleaned up anything, but I've got it in. I'm gonna cut these off and move these forward, and then also cut off the brackets. But first, before I can cut off the brackets, because of the location of these and everything, I'm gonna go ahead and pull the motor and transmission out, get that out of the way, and then start cutting old brackets out, cut these out, move them forward. And these are actually pretty easy. So from this edge here to this edge here is 3 inches exactly. That's exactly how far we want to move it forward. So all I got to do is cut that off, move that there, tack that, line the rest of it up. That's good to go. And then Jeep, they put a bunch of extra space in here that was not used for welding. So I don't even think I'm gonna have to box these front ones. These I can just double, I can weld inside and outside, and I think they'll be good. All right, so I got this bracket cut off. I cleaned all that off. In the time lapse, I had all those big chunks that were left over from the weld because I don't like grinding out welds. It takes forever. I just cut right next to the weld and then cut out the weld. I took an air hammer, and if there's a spot that's kind of lifted up on the weld, if you drive down or up or whichever direction with the air hammer, generally you can get most of the weld off without having to do a whole lot of work. I hate grinding welds. Hate it so much. So I went ahead and air hammered most of those welds out, and then whenever I couldn't get air hammered out because it just didn't want to come out or it was real good bond, I used the grinding wheel and I ground those down, and then I flapped all this out. I did have to channel a little bit of the frame rail right here just to make room for this ledge to sit on and everything. But as you can see, it fits up nice. It's a little wobbly, so I gotta get a little bit in there, but I'm just gonna tack it and match the angle to the other side, and we should be good. All right, I got that dadgum center. So, I'm gonna go ahead and weld this up. It's a whole lot of welding. But this is all burned in now, both sides, top and bottom. There was a little gap in here that I tried to weld that I couldn't get to just because of how tight this was. All this is burned in, and then down here I plugged a hole in there. Down here, that gap's too big for me to weld. There's a hole there, got there. I was able to kind of get there. You can't really see that. And then on this back side, I kind of went up in there as well, and then burned in there. So this shock tower is done, shock and spring tower. I'm gonna go ahead. This will be tomorrow project. This is kind of taking some time, and I've got a bunch of other stuff to do today. So tomorrow I'm getting back on that, getting that one moved forward, and then it'll be time to start working on welding up trusses. All right, I've got this side fully welded in. So I went ahead and went in there just because of how this sat and everything. The bracket that was spread across here, I chopped it up and I plated it in between, and it's plated down to here. So it'll still clear the spring that's gonna sit here, but same thing over here, plated it in there, welded all that plate in, top, bottom, all the way around. And then over here, I'm contemplating putting a plate back in here and then welding that pocket up, or leaving it as is. And then got it welded full boxed around, all the way around both sides. I double passed this, so I passed it once and then passed it again, slower the second time, and then all the way around. So the next step of this is going to be putting that rear axle in, doing the 3-link bars, and then full welding everything. So